Welcome to the Hemline Homicides, Chapter 7, Roses and Rhinestones. Merrill Wicks's house was a quaint throwback, a gingerbread-style cottage nestled amongst blooming camellias and towering hollyhocks, its eaves festooned with lace-like fretwork and tiny stained-glass sun catchers. Inside, it smelled exactly as Snow remembered: old books, lavender polish, and a hint of rose from Merrill's ever-present hand cream. The sitting room looked like a page torn from a 1950s homemaker's magazine. Pastel cushions plumped into submission, floral teacups waiting in perfect formation on a crochet doily. Merrill herself wore a dusky pink cardigan with embroidered rosebuds, and the bun pinned into her silver curls was as elaborate as ever.
I just cannot believe what they're saying about you, darling,
she tutted, pouring Snow a cup of tea without asking how she took it.
That dreadful Bruce Nestle and his little internet circus. Honestly, the things people would do for clicks.
Snow took the tea from her, the china clinking gently. So you saw the live stream?
Of course I did. Everyone did. The book club group chat nearly broke into flames. I say to them all, that girl wouldn't hurt a spider, never mind another human being.
She reached over and patted Snow's hand. Her palm was soft and slightly tacky with rose-scented cream, the same scent that had lingered in Snow's sewing room. Snow gave her a tight-lipped smile. Appreciated. Merrill settled into the wingback chair, tucking one foot underneath her.
But isn't it frightening? Whoever sent those pictures must be desperate to throw blame. Honestly, it's a wonder someone hasn't sued that Nestle boy.
We're looking into it, Snow said, gently swirling the tea in her cup. But whoever planted my label knew exactly how to push public suspicion. Merrill tilted her head.
You think someone's targeting you on purpose?
I know they are, and I think they've made a few mistakes along the way. Snow's words hung in the air like a dropped stitch, unnoticed but vital. But the room, warm and richly perfumed, had taken on the strange hush of a theatre between acts. Merrill Wicks, seated primly on her tufted armchair, stared into the floral teacup like she might divine answers from its fading steam. Detective Noakes didn't speak. She simply watched. Snow sat on the edge of a needlepoint footstool, the carved legs creaking slightly beneath her. Her posture was still, alert, but not aggressive. She knew better than to press. After a moment of brittle silence, Merrill's eyes flicked up. Her expression was carefully composed. Snow spoke gently. Before we go any further, I need to return something. She reached into the fabric satchel resting at her feet and unwrapped a small cloth bundle. Inside was the rhinestone brooch, its facets catching the soft lamplight with a glimmer of innocent beauty. Merrill's breath hitched.
Oh, my stars, my mother's brooch.
Her hand fluttered to her chest, then reached out instinctively.
Where did you find it? I've turned my whole house upside down looking for that.
Snow didn't pass it to her. Instead, she cradled it in her palm. It was found beside Vera's body. A beat of stillness. Then just like that, Merrill's veneer began to crack. The color drained from her cheeks, and she withdrew her hand, clasping it on her lap with unnatural precision.
But that? No, it must be misplaced. Someone could have...
Snow gently shook her head, reaching into the folder on her lap. She withdrew 2 photographs. She laid the first one on the low table between them. It was one of the leaked images, Vera's body staged unnaturally, too pristine. This was sent to Bruce Nestle. Merrill stared at it, eyes wide. Now look at this. Snow placed the second image beside it, a clean print from the official forensic file. This one came from the crime scene investigators. Same angle, same scene. Except this one includes your brooch. Just here. She tapped gently next to the glinting object in the photo. Merrill's lips parted slightly. No sound came out. That brooch, Snow said softly. Doesn't show up in the leaked photos because the person who took them hadn't yet left it behind. Noakes, quite until now, leaned in. That person is you. Meryl stared at the photos, then at the brooch in Snow's hand.
My mother,
she whispered.
She started the Festival of Threads long before any of this influencer nonsense. It was meant to bring the town together. Crafters, teachers, generations of sewists passing knowledge down to the community. Not for clout.
She looked down at the brooch, tears beginning to prick at the corners of her eyes.
I wore that brooch every year in her honor. I always wore it to the festival. Mama believed deeply in protecting the town's reputation, its pride, and its dignity.
Snow's voice was soft but unyielding. You didn't just lose a brooch, Meryl. You left behind a signature. Meryl's hands trembled now, ever so slightly. Snow exhaled, then set the brooch down gently on the doily between them. Meryl stared at it with a mixture of longing and dread. Snow continued in her calm tone. The rose-scented hand cream you always wear, it was found smudged on the mirror at Cassie's murder scene. Meryl flinched. And the grey upholstery thread used in both murders? Snow added. It was missing from my booth after the fair. If you'd taken it, I wouldn't have noticed. I trusted you. Noakes set her teacup down and leaned forward, voice low but firm. Why, Meryl? Why try to frame her? Meryl didn't answer at first. Her eyes darted to the photos, the brooch, and then to Snow's face. Slowly her composure crumbled like the edge of a fraying hem.
I didn't think it would stick,
Meryl said finally. Her voice was quiet but trembling.
The police love you, Snow. There wasn't enough real evidence, just suggestion really, hearsay. You would have been cleared up, but oh, the sympathy, the admiration, the town railing behind you, a local hero wrongfully accused. Une would be everywhere, perfect for next year's festival. You could be the face of it. We could save it all.
Her voice broke into a soft, disbelieving laugh.
You are always the star of the story. I just tried to give you the spotlight.
Snow stared at her, stunned by the delusion. Noakes stood slowly, drawing her badge with practiced steadiness. Meryl Wicks, she said, her tone official. You are under arrest for the murders of Vera Vallon and Cassie Hart. Meryl didn't protest. Her hands folded neatly into her lap, tears finally spilling over as she whispered,
I only wanted to protect the fair.
Snow rose beside Noakes, her voice low. And now it will be remembered for this. Back in the interrogation room in Buttonhole Bay Police Station. The walls of the room were blank, but the silence inside had texture. Heavy, measured. Meryl Wicks sat with her hands folded neatly in her lap, as if waiting tea service instead of questioning. Her hair, though looser than usual, was still pinned up with silver precision. Her pink cardigan remained spotless, even beneath the stark glare of the overhead light. Detective Noakes leaned forward slightly, elbows on the table. She had done this thousands of times before, bringing in suspects for final questioning and processing in order to complete all the dreadful formal paperwork that was an essential part of her job. Her tone was level. You've already confessed to both murders, Meryl. What we need to know is how. Across from her, Snow sat back, quiet, observing, still not quite believing they were here. Meryl's lips pressed into a line, not out of reluctance, but of thoughtful curation.
It wasn't personal, you understand. It was necessary.
Noakes gave a nod. Vera first. Meryl's eyes fluttered, closed for a moment, as though conjuring the memory.
She was glowing that day, tripping in false praise, enjoying the cameras, the fuss. She had no idea what she'd done to the festival's reputation, to me.
Her voice cooled.
I invited her for a private toast behind the main hallway. Midday champagne. She was delighted. We drank from paper cups.
Was it laced? Noakes asked.
Of course not.
Meryl sniffed.
I'm not a criminal, dear. I simply made a suggestion. She'd spilled something on her top, and I told her I had a quinoa in my sewing basket. My basket always with me. Everyone's used to it by now.
Snow's heart dipped.
She turned around to look in the mirror I'd bought to help touch up makeup, and while she adjusted her collar, I used the grey upholstery thread. A loop, a strong one.
You strangled her, Noakes said flatly. Meryl tilted her head, her voice almost clinical.
She wasn't very strong. All bark, little substance. Always skipping meals, chasing that wayfish look the fashion world fawns over. Weak from the inside out, she should have eaten more, built some strength. It didn't take much.
Silence. And then Snow finally spoke, her voice low.
I made sure she'd be found properly.
Meryl said softly.
No chaos, no ghoul, just composed, presentable, like a display at the festival, not a scandal.
She gave a slow, almost reverent nod.
It was the least I could do for her. For the fair, I smoothed her dress, tacked her hair back, got her ready to be discovered.
Her voice barely trembled.
Then I walked out into the hallway and called, "Somebody call the police, something's happened."
She folded her hands in her lap, her eyes distant.
I didn't even notice the brooch was gone.
But not before taking photos first, Noakes asked, her voice low. Meryl blinked almost innocently.
Of course I did. I wasn't sure, you see, if I might need them later.
She offered a tight smile, the kind meant for ribbon cuttings and PTA meetings.
Insurance, I suppose, just in case someone tried to twist the story.
Noakes narrowed her eyes. So why send them to Bruce Nessel? Why fan the flames? Meryl gave a soft sigh, as if recounting a minor inconvenience.
Bruce was a natural choice. He has the reach, the audience, and a flair for the dramatic. I didn't need him to believe it, just to share it.
She looked up, her eyes glinting with something unreadable.
I knew he wouldn't question too hard where the images came from. He never does. Not when they come wrapped in just enough scandal to make him trend.
Snow said nothing, just watched. Meryl glanced up at Snow, her expression unsettlingly calm.
And I needed the suspicion to learn somewhere else, on someone respectable, believable.
She folded her hands neatly in her lap.
And really, darling, you were the perfect choice. Loved by the town, trusted, a little mystery in your past. It was just enough to plant a seed.
Her voice dropped to a wistful murmur.
I thought if people suspected you, they'd never look my way. I thought sending them to Bruce would stir suspicion, create enough noise to cloud the truth.
Meryl said softly.
I never imagined it would be the very thing that undid me.
Noakes moved a sheet of paper aside. And Cassie Hart? Something in Meryl's face changed then, like a curtain being pulled aside to reveal the darker room beneath. She didn't blink. She didn't fidget.
I went to her apartment,
she said evenly.
She hadn't shown her face since the festival. I thought she might try to disappear, but I needed to speak to her, to make her understand what she had done.
Noakes said nothing, letting the silence press in.
She was the one everyone said was making threats, issuing warnings, twisting arms behind the scenes. I assumed she was the real problem all along, the one pushing Vera's agenda.
She exhaled, eyes flicking to the spot on the far wall.
When I walked in, I expected arrogance, defiance, but instead she was already unraveling, crying, shaking, heavens me. She told me everything, that Vera made her do it, that she hadn't wanted to, that it had all spiraled beyond what she could control.
Meryl's tone cooled.
But remorse doesn't change facts. She was still the one who did the dirty work. She still hurt people.
Noakes tilted her head. So you killed her?
She didn't fight me.
Meryl said simply.
She didn't even move. She said Vera was gone and now it would all fall on her, that her career was over, that no one would believe she was just following orders.
Her voice dropped to a whisper.
She said she didn't want to live with the fallout, that if I had already taken care of Vera, I might as well finish the job.
Snow leaned forward slightly, watching the settled tremor return to Meryl's hands.
She gave up, just like that. It didn't take much. The same grey thread, a simple knot, tighter this time.
A moment passed.
It was almost peaceful.
Snow felt her throat tighten. And the smear on the mirror? Meryl gave a soft laugh.
Cassie asked for a moment to fix her lipstick before I did it. I suppose I left my mark there too.
Noakes leaned back, gaze hardening. Why frame Snow? Meryl sighed.
Because she's loved, untouchable, the whole town adores her, and I thought...
Meryl continued.
They suspected her even a little, it would pass. She'd be cleared, of course. It was all circumstantial, all whispers. With the sympathy, the media, the festival would rise like a phoenix, and Snow would become its patron saint. Our face for the next year.
She looked almost proud.
It was a clever solution.
Noakes rose from her seat. It was murder. Meryl didn't resist.
And yet, I saved the fair.
Snow stood beside Noakes, her voice cold now. No, Meryl, you broke it. You took everything good about it and muddied it with murder.